Yeah,
Tina.
I emailed you, I found a bunch of them online. I ended up signing up for one that's on the 21st, I think. I was gonna do one tonight, but I didn't too close with this. I'm sorry?
That it would have been okay, that one you asked.
Oh, yeah, that was one where you can just do it online and then kind of take a test at the end and check and review and make sure that's okay.
Can I be heard? Anybody hear me? It's not going to be good. I'm going to have to go like that.
It's on.
Yes.
The microphones are in a little quirky.
Okay.
6.
Well, welcome to the December 14th, 2021 meeting of the Town of Victor Planning Board. We'll start it with the pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty. Got some announcement first. I'm going to have to pull it down. The emergency exits are to the right and left. It says emergency exit only on the door. The restrooms are through the entrance door and immediate left. Be sure to sign the attendance sheet at the back of the meeting room, even if you're a developer or are presenting an application. There are business cards at the back table next to the sign-in sheet you take with you with the email address, phone number for the planning department. Also on the back table is a copy of the resolutions that will be read tonight, along with the agenda. Please turn off your cell phones or put them on silent. If you have to take a call, please take it out in the hall. And the same goes to conversations. If you have to have a conversation with somebody, please take that out in the hall as well. Any correspondence? No correspondence. Any boards here besides us? No? Okay, and I don't see Mike, so nothing from town board. The legal notice for the public hearings appeared in the Daily Messenger, along with under review signs being posted on the subject parcels. Postcards were mailed to property owners within a minimum of 500 feet from the location for the initial public hearing date of each application. For applications carried over, please refer to the Planning and Building Office. Oh, we have some meeting minutes from September 28th, 2021. Anybody have any questions or comments about those? All right, hearing none, let's have a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll move it.
Pat moves it.
A second.
Joe Logan seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. The first item is the Highline Park. The public hearing on this has been closed, so anybody here for that? Oh, there you go. With everybody having a mask on, you have to identify yourself a little more than you usually do. All right, go ahead. Yep.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Cole Papasergi with Marathon Engineering. I'm staying in for Rich Teedy as he was at some of the previous meetings. With me today is Scott Morrell from Morrell Builders, right over there. We're here to answer any of your questions as you go through your process. Let me know if you have, I don't really have any updates as far as progress. We've received the comments from the town, and we have all those are pretty minor and technical in nature, and we have sent responses to those to the town.
This has been on several times. Just to refresh everybody's recollection, this is requesting approval to construct 120 apartment style and 26 townhome style for rent residential units with supporting clubhouse amenities and parking at on Main Street, Fishers. We got something late last week. Have we had any response from our consultants at all?
So as Cole indicated, the planning department did receive response to all of the comments that he's received. We haven't received updated drawings, but Wes, maybe he can speak to what he needs to speak to. We haven't received the updated drawings. They're still working on the updated drawings. So we've received responses. We just haven't sent them back out to our consultants yet.
Okay. Wes, have anything on that?
Yeah, so we've seen the updated, or the response to comments. Some of those comments or responses we can't verify until we have updated plans. However, it's not, I don't necessarily see that not having the updated plans is something that stands in the way if the planning board would like to move this forward this evening. As you might recall, I think it was the last meeting we were here, we went through part 2 of the EAF, the long form, and we did fill out part 3 of the EAF, and it's on file with the Planning and Building Office. The one update that I think was new for me was that Marathon indicated that they would like to dedicate or offer for dedication the sanitary sewer system. I think it was kind of, at the last meeting, I don't think they were so definitive in that approach. I think there was a possibility that the property owner would own and maintain the sanitary sewer, but we've done it in other projects where the town has taken ownership or taken dedication of the sanitary sewer for future maintenance and repair purposes. So as long as we have the easements to provide the town access, that shouldn't be a problem.
You see any other issues?
No, I don't think so. The traffic is fine. We discussed traffic at the last meeting, and then also with sanitary sewer capacity, that's usually another big issue we've looked at, and that's been resolved. That's not an issue here for this project.
Thanks, Wes.
Yep.
Joe, I saw you.
Well, I wanted to talk to Wes a little bit about the sanitary sewer dedication, and the roads themselves. They're all internal private roads, correct?
That's correct.
So where would the sanitary sewer dedication end?
Well, I think what they propose is that all of the sanitary sewer lines or infrastructure that's in the project area, some of it's probably going to be underneath the private roadway. They would provide easements to the town of Victor for future maintenance. So for another example project that we've done that with is, I might need help with this one. It's Willow Rise. Willow Rise is another one where we did this. So that's also a private road, private property where they're providing easements to the town.
Farmington was okay with that? The sewer district? I have a concern about having public utility ownership on private property, especially this is a complete development that is 100% owned by it's not like they're private houses on private drives. They're apartments and townhouses all owned by the developer. So I have a hard time the town taking ownership of anything on private property, if that's the definition of it. I mean, there's no chance that anyone's going to own any of these parcels but the developer. So why wouldn't they maintain everything that gets to the road?
Yeah, so that was identified as a potential option at the last meeting, as far as I recall. And then with the recent comments or responses to comments that we received, that I understand that the developer was proposing dedication, offering those for dedication.
Isn't there a regulation about private sewer mains, and if they were to have their own private sewer main into which the laterals would connect, that they would have to have their own transportation corporation and that sort of thing? I seem to think that there is an advantage to, or a necessity purpose.
That does ring a bell. I don't remember the details, but it does sound familiar.
Otherwise, all the homes would have to have individual laterals like spaghetti leaving the site and entering the main out on the street, because the main would be private, and I think it's think it's actually an EPA regulation that's handed down to the DEC.
Oh, is there a pump station on site then? Or is it
No,
all gravity?
gravity.
So they're just pipes, so we're talking the mains, and anything off of the main would be, any, like laterals would,
Laterals can be private, but the mains, I believe, have to be public unless a transportation corporation is created,
It could be.
my knowledge.
okay? It just seems kind of odd that you'd have it on a private property. I mean, if you have a house, everything to the road is yours, correct?
Right, but you don't have a main, just have a lateral.
Okay. I guess I would look at it as a big lateral with lots of little pieces.
Once you connect more than one, then you gotta have a main. And then it all kind of unravels from there.
Okay, all right. I can defer to that, I guess.
What's that?
Yeah.
You got anything else?
No, I think the developer did a real good job working with the public and addressing the visual impact. I thought it was pretty much textbook.
Very good.
I agree.
Okay, Joe, that's Joe Limbeck. Okay, that being the case, we do have a resolution here. Be at your places. For Highline Park, County Road 42, Main Street Fishers, today's date 12/14/21, application number 30 SP 2021. Whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and there are 13 of them. Whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board reviewed the unlisted action on December 14th, 2021, and identified no significant impacts. Now therefore be it resolved that the project Highline Park will not have a significant impact on the environment, and that a negative declaration be prepared. And be it further resolved that the site plan application of Jeff Morrell Builders, 1501 Pittsford Victor Road, Victor, New York, site plan entitled Highline Park, drawn by Marathon Engineering, dated August 10, 2021, received by the Planning Board August 12, 2021, sheets numbers 1 through 10. Planning Board application number 30 SP 2021 be approved with the following conditions. Conditions to be addressed prior to the chairman's signature on the plan. 1, that no final signatures will be given on the plans until all legal and engineering fees have been paid per fee reimbursement local law adopted November 25, 1996. 2, that the comments in a letter dated October 26, 2021 from Labella Associates be addressed. 3, that the comments in a letter dated August 25, 2021 from Zaretsky and Associates be addressed. 4, that comments from Al Benedict, Code Enforcement Officer, dated August 31, 2021 be addressed. 5, that comments in a letter received from Christopher Day, Ontario County Department of Public Works be addressed. 6, that comments from Keith Maynard, Stormwater Program Manager, dated September 13, 2021 be addressed. 7, that comments from Robert Graham for the Coordinated Fire Service, dated August 25, 2021 be addressed. 8, that comments from the Town of Farmington Water and Sewer Department, dated August 19, 2021 be addressed. And there are 2 ongoing conditions. 1, that the site plan comply with the Town of Victor design and construction standards for land development, including Section 4. 2, that the architectural elevations be reviewed by the planning board for the free apartment buildings prior to the start of construction. And be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter.
Ernie, I'm sorry, the number 2 ongoing about the architecture.
Yep.
I know we've seen a rendering of the major apartment buildings. We haven't seen any renderings of the clubhouse or the other.
No, we haven't seen any of that. That's a condition. that
Okay,
they
so
come before us and
you called out 3 apartment buildings, but we didn't see anything with the clubhouse or the
well, I
houses.
think we should then say for all buildings
Yeah,
on the premises.
that's fine.
Changing that? Okay. And be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board approval letter. We have a motion on this.
As amended, I'll make the motion.
As amended, Joe Logan moves, Stott seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. By the way, Al Galina's not here tonight. He's under the weather, got a cold, didn't want to spread it around, which is the thing to do. The second item on the agenda was the Bristol Garden Growing and Greenhouses, which has been tabled until the next meeting. Next meeting will be January 11th. 3 is Pet Pride Edition. The public hearing on this one is closed. This is 38 SP 2021 and 09 SU 2021. It's 7731 State Route 251. The owner is Pet Pride of New York, INC. Tax bag 15.01-1-60.100. Applicant is requesting approval to construct a 3,100 square foot addition to the existing facility. The proposed work will include the construction of additional parking and an emergency vehicle turnaround. Public hearing, as I said, this is closed. Anybody from the board have any questions or comments? Anybody here for Pet Pride? Okay, do you want to say anything?
Good evening, I'm Jeff Ashon with Mosine Architects. I did have one, I saw the resolution and did have a set of comments I distributed on November 24th for Labella. I'm not sure if, or, if they got distributed, I can try to copy
Yeah,
it.
I've got a copy of your responses,
You
so
do?
that's
Okay.
fine. Yep,
All right, thank you.
yep.
That's really all we had this evening. Thank
Okay.
you.
We do have a resolution on this one, unless the board has anything. Okay, the resolution is for Pet Pride Edition, 7731 State Route 251. Today's date, 12/14/21, application number 38 SP 2021 and 09 SU 2021. Whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and there are 15 of them. Whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board reviewed the unlisted action on December 14, 2021, and identified no significant impacts. Now therefore be it resolved that the project, Pet Pride Edition, will not have a significant impact on the environment, and that a negative declaration be prepared. Now therefore be it resolved that the application of Pet Pride of New York, Inc., site plan entitled Pet Pride Edition, drawn by McMahon LaRue Associates, P.C., dated September 2021, received by the Planning Board October 5, 2021, last revised November 4, 2021. Planning Board application number 38 SP 2021 and 7 SU 2021 be approved with the following conditions. Conditions to be addressed prior to the chairman's signature on the site plan. 1, that no final signature will be given on the plans until all legal and engineering fees have been paid as per fee reimbursement local law adopted November 25, 1996. 2, that the comments in a letter dated November 9, 2021 from Labella Associates be addressed. Ongoing conditions: 1, that the site plan comply with the Town of Victor design and construction standards for land development, including Section 4. 2, that a building permit be obtained before the start of construction, and be it further resolved that the Planning Board Secretary distribute the Planning Board's approval letter. Have a motion on that?
Move it.
Pat moves it. Second?
Second.
Joe Limback seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. 4-0. One absent. Next is the Watson Pole Barn and Driveway. The public hearing on this one is still open. This is 39 SP 2021. It's on Dreyer Road, Zone Residential 1. Owner is Abram Watson. Tax map number 27.01-1-77.000. Applicant is requesting approval to construct a 2,000 square foot pole barn for personal storage and a waiver from the Town of Victor design and construction standards to allow a driveway with a 13% slope, whereas a maximum of 10% is allowed. Anybody here for that one?
Yeah, it's just me tonight. Abe and Denise are out of town, so they've asked me to come. We drew up the plans. I'm Glenn Thornton with Thornton Engineering. I was not here at the last meeting, and they tried to fill me in on the discussion. As I noticed, there's no meetings yet, so I understand there were some comments about the cobblestone structure next door, plus there were some town engineer comments. We responded to all the comments that we had received back on December 2nd. I don't know if everybody's seen the response letter, revised set of drawings that we prepared. But I think we've answered everything that's been asked. Not sure if there's any other questions, concerns, any other information that's needed.
Well, there was a question on West,
Yeah, so I was going to look into, I was going to talk with our geotechnical professional at Labella regarding vibrations from the result of constructing a driveway and what impact that might have to an adjoining or nearby cobblestone building. And also about placement of the driveway. And currently where the driveway is depicted is a much better position than if it were located further to the west. So I think the furthest east you can move that driveway would be the safest for people traveling on the roadway, as well as for anybody who's going in and out of that property. And understanding that there is a concern with regard to, creating that driveway and the impacts to the adjoining parcel. So it's likely that there may be some vibrations experienced or that might impact in some way, to some degree. We can't say, I don't know. It might impact that cobblestone building, right? If you're inside that building, it's likely that you might experience some vibration from the construction of that driveway. So the recommendation, or what's done in other instances, especially in urban areas, is a professional engineer would enter a site and do a pre- and post-construction survey of the building. So they would go into the building, take some photographs and even video components of that structure to document what the existing conditions are pre-construction, and then also to do the same thing afterward to see if there were any changes. So that's something that is done in urban areas, at least, where, for example, if there's a bridge replacement and they're going to be doing some construction adjoining these buildings. So another opportunity would be to monitor potential vibrations that might come from the heavy equipment that would be creating the foundation for that drive. So that can get expensive. It can be a few $1,000s to do all of this, not only the pre- and post-construction survey, but also the ground monitoring. And especially if that monitoring is done remotely, it's going to be a little bit more, for example. So, those are things that can be done. It's certainly an expense. Whether or not it's something that this board has the ability to impose upon a developer, and in this case, it's not really the developer, it's a property owner looking to construct a single-family home. Is that the right thing to do? It seems, certainly the property owner the adjoining property owner of the cobblestone building, they have the ability to do their own pre- and post survey as well, condition survey, but.
So, Wes, one thing I came away from the last meeting with this discussion, and I still have a question about, is if we do any sort of monitoring, or even how do we know when it's too much?
Yeah.
What's the measure? Now, clearly, there's an extreme when parts start falling off the cobblestone, but how do we know when it's too much?
Yeah, I think that's going to require, consultation and dialogue with the professionals that actually do that work. I don't know the answer to that.
anybody else have any questions for Wes?
I guess on that note, looking at the location of the cobblestone house relative to Dryer Road, the distance from Dryer Road itself, versus the distance to the proposed new driveway is significantly closer to the road.
Yeah, I measured approximations, and it appears that the cobblestone is about 24 feet off of the pavement edge of the roadway, and to the driveway, the proposed driveway, I think it's about 60 feet.
So I'm concerned that, if there's some damage to the house, we don't know whether it's a heavy truck going to the Syracuse, picking up gravel and, multiple trips all day long even.
There are many heavy trucks to
Yeah.
go down that road every day.
So how would you possibly know, unless you had continual monitoring, and I'm not saying we should do this, but of the work, and they can say, well, you had all these vibrations going by the house that may have affected the house at such and such a date and time, and the contractor's gonna say, I wasn't doing anything that day, so what's the point? I don't think there's overload, well, can't say there's no overloads from trucks, but there's some pretty heavy dump trucks going by there. I don't know what's coming here, but it can't be anywhere near the traffic that is experienced on Dryer Road.
Yeah, the Syracuse trucks are really loaded coming
Yeah.
down there, and they are
So,
much heavier.
In my opinion, it would be a little onerous to force the builder here and the homeowners to pay for this extra monitoring, and I would suggest that the Baldwins get us, take their own pictures and take a look at it, and if they see something that's an issue, then they bring it to their attention, but they'd have to record the dates that they started and stopped, or the date they may have noticed it, but I can't see,
Well, we get heavy trucks down Modoc Road as well.
yeah.
As I commented at the last meeting, we have a cobblestone foundation. The house is 130, 140 years old. And we have not seen any cracking or displacement of the cobblestone foundation. And our house is only about 20 feet from the road.
I think it's difficult for someone who's just hiring a builder to build a home to, agree to do this type of monitoring, and I'm not sure that the monitoring would yield anything, quite honestly. But I do think if the owner or the neighbor is concerned about some type of potential damage or settlement, that if they photo document their house, as you suggested, which is a common practice that we use, on city street projects and such, then that's one way to keep track of it. But I think it's, as I mentioned in the last meeting, I think it's very difficult financially and I think logistically for anyone building a single-family residence to adhere to this type of a specification.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if I were the homeowner wanting to build a house here, I might have someone inspect and take pictures myself of that cobblestone house just for my own protection, saying I have a baseline record. But I wouldn't expect any damage to happen from construction here. I mean, I see Babette standing there, so maybe she has a question or a comment on this, if you don't mind, Ernie.
I saw you there.
Babette Huber, town historian. I totally agree with you. And I think that the Baldwins would also agree. We're trying to not have the cobblestone have any problems with it, and we want these people to put in their driveway. So Thornton Engineering has already said in number 4 that the developer will obtain pre-construction photographs of the cobblestone, and I think that should suffice.
At least you have a baseline of
Right.
if something were to happen.
If-
Then,
if.
I mean, it's actually kind of difficult to prove that the developer actually
Right.
may have done something to
Right.
cause a crack that might appear sometime. But still, you've got that.
We have that, and also from what you've said and the research I've done from preservationists, it looks like the owners are trying their very best to do the right thing, and this is all going to work out in the end. Merry Christmas.
With that. And Glenn, I believe in this latest drawing I see here that you shifted the driveway just a little bit to the west from where it was on the previous
On
version?
the previous, no, we did not.
No?
No, we received town engineer comments that said we should get that driveway as far from the hill as possible. So I am very reluctant to move it.
I was
Just for-
concerned in the last meeting, I know you weren't here for that, Glenn, but the tree, the very large shade
Yep.
tree, the historical tree, I'll call it, and for lack of a better expression, just want to make sure you don't kill it by burying roots of that tree system, and then, you know.
We will have a little bit of fill at the road there because the terrain drops off quite a bit. We're trying to fit the driveway between a utility pole and a hydrant though, so we don't have much wiggle room up there.
Okay. Did you lower the house at all, the elevation?
Did not, we looked at that. Actually, we also reduced the amount of disturbance. It's real, you know. We took an honest look the first time. We were a little bit over an acre, and I says, fine, we got to get a speedies permit. But it would throw us into that Aroniquoy Creek watershed and all that. So what we've done is we balanced the job. We pulled the amount of disturbance behind the house, closer to the house, moved the retaining wall, and we've reduced the disturbance a bit. It's a balanced job right now. To make any real impact on the driveway, we would be creating so much additional excavation material that we'd have to truck it out. A lot of vibration on the cobblestone trucking out that material. No, we want to keep everything on site. I don't know what we'll hit if we go deeper anyhow, if we remove more than 5 feet. I don't expect to find bedrock, but you never know.
Okay.
And actually, the driveway is at 12.5%.
Yeah, did you change it a little bit since the last time I saw
Well, we
13?
kind of tweaked the contours a little bit, moving the amount of disturbance, reducing it. We tweaked them a little bit. Basically, it's over, about 120 foot length, I think, 120 foot length. We exceed 10% up to a max of about 12 and a half. And that's well back from the road.
Okay.
And we're varying amount of fill into the driveways, 3-4 feet of fill in a lot of that area right there.
All right, thank you.
Anything else?
I just wanted to make sure, so you're requesting then a waiver from the slope requirement for the driveway, and
Yes.
I presume you're also requesting a waiver from the access requirements in terms of driveway separation based on speed limit.
Say that again, Scott?
It's an access reg that the town of Victor has where driveways have to be a certain distance from one another based on the speed limit, and you're probably looking at somewhere in the 300 to 400 foot range between driveways
Oh,
on Dryer there, and
we're asking for a waiver from that.
I don't think
then,
you
for
have
sure.
that.
Yeah,
just wanted to clarify, that's all.
thank you. I wasn't aware of that.
Okay, good. Well, we have a resolution on this one as well. It's for the Watson Pole Barn and Driveway on Dryer Road. Today's date, 12/14/21, application number 39 SP 2021. Whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact. And there are,
Public hearing still open?
well, I'm sorry.
Yep.
We'll have a motion, if we could, to close the public hearing.
I'll move.
Okay, Joe Limbeck.
A second.
Joe Logan seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, public hearing is closed. And I already read the first part of this, so I'll just continue on. There are 11 findings of fact. Whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board reviewed the unlisted action on December 14, 2021 and identified no significant impacts, now therefore be it resolved that the project Watson Pole Barn and Driveway will not have a significant impact on the environment and that a negative declaration be prepared. Now therefore it be resolved that the Town of Victor Planning Board hereby waives the requirement found in section 2.9.16.1 of the Town of Victor Design and Construction Standards that would otherwise limit the maximum driveway grade to 10% and allows for a 13% grade as depicted on the current site plan. And be it further resolved that the application of Abram Watson site plan entitled Watson Pole Barn and Driveway received by the Planning Board October 13, 2021, drawn by Thornton Engineering, September 2021, last revised November 29, 2021. Planning Board application number 39 SP 2020 be approved with the following conditions. Conditions to be addressed prior to the chairman's signature on the site plan. 1, that no final signatures will be given on the plans until all legal and engineering fees have been paid as per fee reimbursement local law adopted November 25, 1996. 2, that comments in a letter dated October 29, 2021, and November 1, 2021, from Code Enforcement Officer be addressed. 3, that comments in a letter dated October 28, 2021, and November 1, 2021, from Highway Superintendent be addressed. 4, that comments in a letter dated November 9, 2021, from Labella Associates be addressed. And 5, that the comments in a letter dated November 5, 2021, from Town Historian be addressed. Ongoing conditions, there are 3 of them. 1, that the site plan comply with the Town of Victor design and construction standards for land development, including Section 4. 2, that if for some reason, unforeseen reason, the primary structure is delayed, the applicant would need a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals to build this accessory structure first. 3, that a building permit be obtained before the start of construction, and be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. We have motion?
I just want to make a quick correction. The paragraph that says, "Now therefore be it resolved," on the second page, you said 13%. Glenn said it's been corrected to 12.5%.
Correct.
So I gave it to Lisa, she's marking it
Were
on
they
here.
asked?
Are the waivers identified too?
So the other waiver that you're looking for here is that the planning board, be it further resolved that the planning board waives Chapter 55, Section 55-6, Paragraph D of the Town Code that would otherwise require 440 feet of separation between driveways. It
Right.
allows and is allowing what's depicted on the current plans.
Right.
You got that? All right. Any other corrections or additions? Then, I'm going to make a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion as amended to approve.
I'll
Bill
second.
Logan makes the motion as amended. Scott seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Thank you.
Next item is Southgate Hills, Phase 2.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Oh, you too, Glenn.
Aye.
Public hearing on this one is still open. This is 06 PS 2021, East Victor Road, Zone Residential 2, owner BRW of Greece LLC, tax map 28.04-1-48.000. Applicant is requesting approval to construct 15 lots on 10.14 acres under the clustering provisions, which will include all associated utilities and stormwater management. Approximately 3.99 acres will be placed in a conservation easement. This will be the second step in a 3-step process for a major subdivision. The sketch plan was acknowledged complete August 10, 2021. Link, go ahead.
Good evening. Link Swedrock with BME. Jerry Watkins with BRW of Greece LLC is with me as well. I think last time we were here, the big issue that was outstanding was Labella's review of the pump station. We were talking about closing the public hearing and doing seeker at that time, but and the board was requesting some more sewer information from Labella. So I think that's sort of where we were at. And then we're here to answer any other questions we can on that. We have seen a draft resolution. We do have a comment or two on it, but I think we better talk about sewer first, right? Sorry.
Yeah, that sounds good. So Labella conducted an updated evaluation of Pump Station 7, which is at the corner of East Victor Road and New York State Route 96. As you have heard in previous meetings, it was understood that Pump Station 7 was at capacity as a result of the approval of Victor Jeep and Bluemont Rise subdivision. So what we had done is we requested some updated pump run times from the town of Farmington, and we also looked at as-built plans from the Pump Station 7 and Labella found that the Pump Station 7 is discharging its flows into a 6-inch main. It was previously thought that it was 4-inch, so that provided a little bit more wiggle room for additional flows. And we also evaluated the existing flows as of today. We looked at pump run times between January 2020 and October 2021. And we took a look at the anticipated flows from this project And we're also taking a broader look at the tributary area of Pump Station 7, other areas of the town that could contribute flows to Pump Station 7. Ultimately, we found that as the station stands today, it can accommodate 15 additional homes from this portion of Southgate to just the 15 homes on the west side of East Victor Road. So that's not a problem, provided that the station is adequately maintained and the connections are watertight and we're not getting any additional inflow and infiltration. Anything beyond these 15 lots is something that's going to require pump station upgrades for PS7. So I can show you, maybe I'll have Susie switch the map here. Susie, can I have control of the map? So what you see on the screen here is kind of the potential tributary area of Pump Station 7. So Southgate, there we go. So the project area we're looking at right now is here in this location. That's Southgate Phase 2. I'm calling it Southgate Phase 2A. There is another section of this Phase 2 that could be proposed at some future time. So currently, Pump Station 7, which is up here, and you see this red outline, that's Victor Jeep, and Bluemont Rise down here. That's eating, that along with Southgate 2A is eating up the remaining capacity of Pump Station 7. Anything remaining, including any development on these parcels, or this parcel, or anything in here would require pump station upgrades. So if we just look at these parcels here and this, there's also a potential that this parcel could discharge its sewage to a gravity main that's kind of in the back lot in this area. We don't know what's going to happen there, but so this pump station is going to be over capacity. We're developing some cost estimates for the town to look at and figure out which way it wants to go with, configuration of the pump station and the magnitude of that improvement, given the potential tributary areas. So, with that, this project, we don't have a problem with accommodating with sanitary sewer.
What happens if a project does overtax the sewer system?
That's a good question. I imagine we'd probably get some overflows here or there. We might get some alarms. You might get some high water alarms with the pump station. It would probably require a little more observation and maintenance on a daily basis to see what's going on. I think we'd have to coordinate with Farmington on what's going on with the high water alarms and figure it out on a daily basis.
There's nothing that we can do about that now.
Correct.
So after these 15, what's the game plan for the pump station to?
So what we're doing is developing a cost estimate, right? A couple of different cost estimates based on different variables. And the town will pursue a pump station improvement project. Yeah. That's I think that's kind of in the capital plans for the next year. Yep.
So the future development we saw across the street is, there's not capacity for that once these 15 are approved.
That's correct. But it's also, you mean this second part of Southgate too?
Yeah, the one, didn't we?
Yeah, the 10 remaining lots? Yeah, there's no capacity for that.
Okay.
So, so you got to think that, or I was thinking in my mind, in Bluemont Rise, we don't have any residential structures built yet, right? So it'll probably be some time before some of these homes get built and actually do consume that capacity, right? And we're hoping in the meantime, or maybe we're planning in the meantime, that this pump station improvement project will be planned, designed, and implemented in time for any potential future projects that might be seeking approval.
So what I'm hearing you say, Wes, is as long as everything is built out, as long as we don't approve any more than what's already been approved, including this particular application, the pump station will handle it, and even if they don't get a capital project together to update that pump station before these are all done, we can't approve another project on this line until they do upgrade that pump station.
That's correct.
So anybody that comes forward and says, I want to put 10 houses, 50 houses, whatever it is, and tie into that station, you're going to say, well, you got to wait till we get a capital project completed,
That's correct.
unless you want to pay for a new pump station. So that's the two options. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
We're okay approving, it sounds like, what's in front of us here, but we can't do anything until that pump station's upgraded, even approve it with the plan of nothing hooking up to it until it's updated, because we don't know when it's going to be done. Nice to have it done next year, if that's the plan. Sometimes plans get delayed, so that's my summary of how I understand it.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I appreciate, Wes, you checking all that out, and what I also want to make sure I understand is, they just built this trunk line all the way down to Bluemont.
Correct.
That's plenty big enough to handle anything that gets dumped into it between there and
That's my understanding, yeah.
96.
Yep.
Okay.
But with that line just recently installed and with these 15 homes that are going in, it's maxed out until something changes, right?
The pump station's maxed out,
Yeah.
correct?
So you couldn't accommodate any further users connecting into that trunk main beyond Bluemont.
Yeah, it'd be a mess over on 96.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
All right.
So it's,
Got that, Link?
This is it for a while.
So,
Yep.
the other thing I just wanted to chat about with the planning board is the sidewalk issue, which I believe we did discuss at the last meeting. So what I understand now, currently, what's proposed is a sidewalk in this development, lining the street. And then I think they've also proposed a sidewalk, and now it hasn't been engineered yet, but I think they're also proposing that it come up here to Southgate 1 and terminate at this location, where it would then connect with an existing sidewalk that goes up to the Auburn Trail at this location. So that would leave this part of the road, East Victor Road, without a formal connection to the Auburn Trail. So, and the developer has asserted that they do provide that connection via this sidewalk here in Southgate 1. What I would offer for planning board consideration is to consider the most direct route to the trail from this point, and that it's about 500 feet to get to the trail. And now this portion of the trail here is not as pedestrian friendly or accessible to all types of people as a sidewalk or paved shoulder might be here in this location, especially if someone from this development might be looking to get to, for example, Mertensia Park in Farmington. Seems like they might look for the most direct and safe path to get there, which might be along this frontage and then along the Auburn Trail this direction, rather than come up this way and use a little bit more of a grade in this location, and the surface is not quite as pedestrian friendly there either, but I just wanted to offer that for your consideration.
Everybody think about that. I think the way it's in the proposed, and the way
You want to go?
Chris has
He wants
explained
to.
it, I think that's a good way to go.
Hi, Jerry Watkins with Friedman, the developer. We prefer to go through the subdivision because where East Victor Road and the trail come in, it's quite a grade difference. Through our subdivision, there's an at-grade way to get to that, to get to the trail. We could very easily put signage at our entrance off of East Victor Road with an arrow pointing to a way to get to the trail. But I think by going down East Victor Road, you got quite a steep way to get up to the trail there. whereas we're pretty much at grade once you get to the end of our cul-de-sac.
But I think Wes's comment was, how do you get there? What's it
Right.
like?
Right, so you take the sidewalk in our subdivision there, and we can put signage there with an arrow this way to the, to the trail, and that'll direct people to the trail.
Wes indicated that the stretch of Auburn Trail from the subdivision to East Victor Road isn't the most pedestrian-friendly. Would you be interested or willing to maybe improve that if we were to go with your proposal?
I'm not understanding, what are you saying, Wes?
So Wes indicated that that stretch of the Auburn Trail between East Victor Road and the subdivision access was not the most pedestrian-friendly and could be improved.
Yeah, in front of the three houses, three lots that we have?
Let me just exit the street view here and zoom out. View. Maybe I'll just go back to this. So my understanding, and the last time I was out at the trail, this portion of the trail in this area, right? The rock surface was a little bit larger than like your stone dust trail, and there's a bit of a slope here coming down. Unless conditions have changed, and it seems like maybe the flatter, more accessible route might be along the frontage of Southgate 1 to get to the trail. So then I tried to bring up the,
Yeah, that's not stone dust trail, we're like number 2 stone up that slope. Probably the town did that.
I think, I think the town did that.
Yeah, I think we gave you the property and the town put it in.
yeah.
South, the first phase of Southgate. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody know how used that has been since it's been there?
Actually, I think that's a pretty popular trail since it comes from Hortensia. It's a pretty well, I mean, I've used it quite a bit, and good for bikes. You know, it's a little steep, but used to have to go down break a day, which was a pain.
So what you're saying, Wes, is the three lots that front East Victor Road, here's a profile of the road, there's no side to the road? There's no shoulder?
Well, there's probably a shoulder. I was just looking to make a safer route, right? You agreed to offer sidewalks between, along East Victor Road, between Southgate 2 and Southgate 1.
Right.
You offered that, and maybe it might make sense to go another 500 feet and extend along East Victor Road for consistency and a direct path to the Auburn Trail.
Yeah, well, in all of our discussions that we've had, it's always been to go through section 1.
I guess I'd suggest that if they go ahead and do the Southgate 2B, that we look to see how we can connect everything across the road at a good sight distance, and perhaps from Southgate 1 across to 2B, and then run along there to the Auburn Trail would be I think
That might be the time to look at it.
compromise and some time to do it. In the meantime, they're still providing a connection through their Southgate 1 from that extra stretch of sidewalk.
Try to break it up a little bit so it's not all on.
I mean, I'm personally sympathetic to that, so, but I do believe we need to make it as connected as possible. So if and when you come back for Southgate 3 or 2B, then we'd for sure be looking for a way to connect all of those
Certainly,
with the extra last piece.
yes, right.
Try to chip
It's a
away
good
at it.
point, Wes, about what you're making about being along the sidewalk, along the road and having some safety there. I think this will be an evolution. Now, what you guys think
What is
about
the
that?
timetable on the other development across the street?
Up to a pump station.
Assuming you have sanitary sewer.
We would probably be back here in the summer for that section. We only have we're pretty much done with the 28 lots with section 1. I think we have 2 lots left. So we're now going to start marketing the 15 lots. That should take a year and a half or whatever, but we pretty much ran out of inventory here, so I would think in the summer we'll be back with 2B or whatever we want to call it on the other side of the road.
Anything, Joe?
Looking at the map, would there be access, direct access from 2B to the trail itself? Or would they have to cross the road and go up?
There's a sidewalk in section 1. So they'd have a sidewalk all the way down to the sidewalk in section 1, and the sidewalk connects to the trail at the end of the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, we got a connection there.
So they could walk through the subdivision, use the sidewalk.
Well, the other thing, Link, is once you get this for 2B, sorry, Wes, just come along the road or wherever that road comes out, tie into the Auburn right here, so you don't have to cross the road until you go to a straight cross.
If you remember the plan, we were trying to do a parking area over there and give that corner piece to the town. So it might make sense to do a crossing there, bring the sidewalk on that side to the parking area. And if, you know, we'd originally done a area that we were gonna give to the town in that corner by the trail, and then maybe it would make sense to incorporate that with what we do over there, so that you're connecting to that parking lot, and you could go either way.
Okay, so this discussion then, I would be okay with putting it with the balance of this, with the expectation that when this does come in, we can get that to tie together.
Might make sense for it to be on the other side.
I don't know what the site distance is like, but I know there's this curve right here, and having a crossing, or at least having it on that side of the road, to me makes more sense than on the inside of the curve. So, good discussion. I don't know what you guys think. I've been talking all the time.
Does anyone from the public wish to be heard on this one? Yes, Dave.
David Wright, 33 Ketchum Street, Chairman of Victor Hiking Trails. Back in August, we did meet with Brian Emelson from Parks and Rec, and reviewed the entire plan of all the phases and requested sidewalks where we think it made sense. And we did request going from Southgate Hills 2 all the way along East Victor Road to the trail. Because, like Wes said, if someone in that development wants to go to Mertensia Park, they're going to take the direct route. And that would be the way I would go. I'm not going to go through the development, up the hill, back down the hill, to cross at the crosswalk to get to Mertensia Park. So I think, you know, from a safety standpoint and knowing human nature, that it would be best to have the sidewalk along East Victor Road all the way to the trail. And I'm not sure about the history of the trail in that section when I wasn't involved when Southgate Hills 1 was proposed. I know originally there weren't sidewalks. The planning board asked for sidewalks. We have sidewalk on one side, and that's great. And we do have the connection to the trail, and that's great. I'm not sure about how the surface, the tread surface of the trail ended up with large stone. I know the town wants to have it stone dust like the rest of it is. And I think they have a problem right now with cash flow. So it's been delayed a while, but maybe between the developer and the town highway department, maybe they could work something out to make that more pedestrian and bike friendly. We do get a lot of bikes on the trail, on the Auburn Trail. Currently, the bikes go around it, down East Victor Road to Break-A-Day. And the whole reason for that trail was to accommodate all users. So that's my comment about connectivity and safety.
Okay, thanks, David. Any other comments from the public? Anything else from the board? Do you have before you a draft for discussion purposes? I don't know that we're ready tonight to consider this. I don't know. What does the board think?
Wes, is there anything else engineering-wise we need to work out before we really?
We do have updated plans in response to comments, so I think.
Would you rather study all that before we get a chance to vote on this, or do?
Well, I think the legwork is pretty well done. I'm comfortable with a conditional resolution as has been written and provided for consideration, but it's up to the board whether you're comfortable with the way plans are presented now, and if there's anything in addition that you would want.
The only item that I remember from the last discussion that stuck with me was site distance at the proposed entrance and them being a little shy on the intersection site distance. And I think it would be wise for us to seek an opinion from your traffic person, Wes,
Okay.
regarding that particular issue, and just make sure that we have that base covered. I understand there's some sort of lights or something there, and it's a slow curve and everything, but I just like the quality assurance that we looked at that closely, and that if there was anything to be done, it was done before we went to construction. I don't think it should hold up necessarily this resolution.
Well, we don't have another meeting until January 11th, so we've got a lot of time to look into this, even though the holidays are in between. This isn't prime construction season anyway. Middle of December and into January.
Yeah, and I mean, we're looking to get the preliminary rolling. We know we got to come back for final, so.
And I think if it's not addressed in here already as a condition of approval, Scott, we can maybe add that as a condition that.
I just think it would be a safe play on the part of the board.
Okay.
I'm fine either way.
This was a draft, and it was identified as such, so it wasn't necessarily going to be read in tonight. So I think the smart thing to do would be to have it up ready to go in the next meeting, January 11th, and if anything comes up in the meantime, you let us know, and we will let you know from our end. How does that sound? Okay,
With me.
good.
Yeah.
All right, the public hearing is still open. Is there any thoughts about closing the public hearing at this point, or do you want to keep it open for another month?
Honestly, I think we need to just close it. It's, there's really no other major concerns.
We close it, we're going to have a decision by the next meeting,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
okay?
I don't have a problem with that.
All right, so do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll move it.
Scott moves it.
A second.
Joe Lundberg seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the public hearing is closed. We'll carry this over to January 11th, and we'll have a completed resolution for you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next item is Delta Sonic Car Wash, 40 SP 2021 and 10 SU 2021, Zone Commercial/Light Industrial, at 7463 State Route 96. The owner is Dilip Patel, tax map 6.00-1-64.100. Applicant is requesting approval to demolish the existing buildings. And
I think we're skipping that one today. Delta Sonic, yeah.
Oh,
Until
what?
January 11th.
It isn't crossed out on mine.
Oh, sorry. You have an old one.
I have an old one.
It's
That's
like
the one that was in my
that.
packet here tonight. It looks, the s-
Like,
all right, it's being carried over to January 11th, so forget what I just said. The next one is Lightcom, and I think, Scott, you're recusing yourself on this one?
Myself from that one, yes.
All right, Lightcom LLC, it's 43 SP 2021, Zone Light Industrial, 7321 State Route 251. Owner is Rekha Golkar. Tax map 15.00-1-9.111. Applicant is requesting approval for a change of use from warehousing to a manufacturing business. Hours of operation would be 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Friday. Anybody here for that one? Step right up.
I'm Bob Jacobson with Lightcoms, and we are looking to relocate into this building during the month of January. We did receive some questions which we provided answers to yesterday morning on number of people and square feet.
We have that in our materials that were received this evening. Everybody had a chance to look at it? I haven't.
I'm curious what kind of satellite communications equipment you make, or you assemble?
We make ground terminals. I mean, they look similar to like a DirecTV kind of dish, a small dish. They range from 3 feet to 6 feet, and then we package up the electronics that make it work. We don't do real manufacturing. We do what I call light assembly. Our suppliers are all around Ontario County. The chassis are made in Manchester. The cables are made in Farmington. The circuit boards are made in Victor at Sermotech, and then it all comes into our building. We populate the box, test it, and ship it.
What kind of truck traffic could we expect with parts coming in?
Most of it is, FedEx and UPS trucks once a day, just the small trucks, not big semis or anything like that. Our terminals, the beauty of our terminals is they're small. They pack up in suitcase-sized boxes that people can check on board an aircraft, and we typically ship 1 day a week, so we would have a truck coming once a week for shipping, probably less than a warehouse that's in there right now, I would guess.
It's nice that you're outgrowing your existing facility.
Yes, it's a good thing. So our engineering facility is on East Henrietta Road, and so that's where we do all of our design work, and then we'll be doing the assembly work here in Victor.
Thank you.
Yep.
How many employees would you have?
At this facility, we're going to be starting with 4 full-time and myself part-time, going back and forth between the 2 facilities. We are looking to expand. Hopefully by next summer, we'll need more people in there. It's an 8,000 square foot facility, so it could certainly, handle 15 people. But we need to do some work to add more parking. There's only about 6 or 7 parking spots there right now.
What kind of noise would this make?
There's no noise.
Not at all?
We assemble with screwdrivers.
All of this would be within the building?
Yes. Yep.
Go.
No, I was fine with this, so,
No, you're out.
all my questions.
Good.
Okay. So am I.
Welcome to Victor.
Thank you.
Do not have a resolution for you.
Yeah.
Do we? Where? So we do.
Okay.
I guess we should close the public hearing.
Yes.
Think of a motion?
So moved.
Joe Logan moves to close the
Second.
public hearing. Joe Lindbeck moves seconds, and if all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 3-0. And 1 abstention. The resolution for Lightcom LLC, change of use, 7321 State Route 251. Today's date, 12/14/21, application number 43 SP 2021. Whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and there are 6. Whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board reviewed the unlisted action on December 14, 2021, and identified no significant impacts, now therefore be it resolved that the project Lightcom, should be an S, comms?
Yeah. Yes.
LLC will not have a significant impact on the environment, and that a negative declaration be prepared. Now therefore be it resolved that the application of Andrew Coloraturo?
Coloratolo, yeah.
Close. Site plan entitled Lightcoms LLC, received by the Planning Board November 8, 2021. Planning Board application number 43 SP 2021 be approved with the following conditions. Conditions to be addressed prior to the chairman's signature on the site plan. Number 1, that no final signatures will be given on the plans until all legal and engineering fees have been paid as per fee reimbursement local law adopted November 25, 1996. 2, that comments in a letter dated December 8, 2021 from Code Enforcement Officer be addressed. And there are two ongoing conditions. One, that the site plan comply with the Town of Victor design and construction standards for land development, including Section 4. Two, a move-in permit is required prior to occupying the space. And be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Joe Logan moves.
Second?
And Joe Lindbeck seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3, 0, 1 abstention. Okay.
Thank you.
There aren't any resolutions lurking here that I missed. Right. All right, the next one is Bell Atlantic DBA Verizon, 42 SP 2021, 11 SU 2021, 1533 State Route 444, zoned residential 2. Owner is Esther Green. Tax map number 40.00-1-2.100. Applicant is requesting approval to construct a monopole/wireless communication facility adjacent to the municipal water tank. Okay.
Thank you. Good evening. Robert Bergdorf, the law firm Nixon Peabody, here tonight on behalf of Verizon Wireless. Also with me tonight for the record and available to answer questions in their respective areas of expertise are Kathy Pomponio, the project manager with Verizon Wireless, Michael Crosby, who's an RF engineer with Verizon Wireless, and Colin Fazio, who's a site acquisition consultant. This is an application for municipal approvals for relocation facilities for what we call the Victor South relo site. More specifically, a 140-foot monopole next to the Miquow water tank on Victor Holcomb Road. Previously, Verizon Wireless had its antenna on the water tank. Miquow had Verizon come off of it for tank maintenance onto a temporary pole, and for a variety of reasons, as more particularly set forth in Exhibits G and H to the application, Verizon Wireless is not going back on the tank. Similarly, we understand T-Mobile may have also sent a letter, and I just want to get that in while I'm thinking about it, that they intend to also co-locate on this tower that we're proposing, and they also are coming off the tank. So we're proposing a 140-foot monopole right next to the Miquow parcel, which requires a special use permit from this board, planning board, but also a setback variance from the ZBA. So I won't get into the setback. We've already been in front of the ZBA, but just wanted to note that we're in front of them for that issue, which is a distance from the property line. And just to note quickly, the reason that we are close to that property line is to consolidate disturbances. If the landowner let us move further out, we don't care. But typically, most towns, and it's an APA rule, you consolidate disturbances. You got a water tank, you get your tower as close as you can to the water tank. You got a tower, you need a second one, get them as close together as you can. But that's for the ZBA. This board, again, is for a special permit, and compliance with the legal standards are set forth in B and C, both the state standards as well as the special permit requirements and under the town. This tower has been serving this cell for about 20 years, although we do need some enhancements in terms of the service in order to provide adequate and reliable service. But the need, of course, is to continue to provide service to this geographic cell as set forth in the application. Procedurally, we've been to the county, and I'm going to talk about those in a minute, but procedurally, there are no other issues in front of this board. It is in a position to proceed, but we do have substantive questions. There are questions raised both by the county and by Labella. And so let's talk about the county ones first. They had two comments. They want to know how far the water tower is from the property line. It's 55 feet. But they also want to know how far it is from the tower itself. Again, these are issues that I think are more appropriate for the ZBA, but just to note, it's 80 feet, 140-foot tower, 80 feet. I think their concern is a fall down. It does have a break point engineered. Should this tower, in the highly unlikely event the tower ever came down, it would fold within 70 feet. So it would be fall short of the tank. But as a practical matter, these don't come down. It's extremely rare. They're built to very rigorous state standards and county standards, and far more than light poles in parking lots where people are driving around underneath them. These are built to very exacting standards, and we're happy to go over those with the town engineer, and we will be doing that with the ZBA. The second comment from the county was a visual simulation. They would like to have one from Ganondigan State Historical Site. If this board directs us to do it, we're happy to do it. We're happy to submit it. We do have photo simulations. I don't know if it's going to add much. you're already looking at a tank, and from that distance, all you're really going to see is a water tank and then a pole next to it. But if the board would like us to do that, we could. And then the Labella letter. Those are the only two comments from the county. The Labella letter, and I apologize because I just got it 20 minutes before this meeting started, so I can't, I looked at it on my phone, so if I'm not quoting it exactly, that's why. But they had 8 comments. 1 and 2 were really combined. 1 and 2 had to do with, did we ever, why aren't we going back on the water tank? And I think we explained that in some detail in Exhibits G and H. Happy to talk about that more, but there are structural reasons. These tanks are not really built for antennas, and Verizon and the other carriers are getting off of them. It was fine in the early years. We had whip antennas. Now a lot of that equipment that used to be in the equipment cabinet is actually built into the antenna. A lot of these aren't meant for this, and there's welding going on. It can cause problems with the tanks. A lot of water tanks companies don't want us on these anymore. So we are phasing them out. We're getting off for structural reasons. There are logistics reasons, and we're enduring that right now. Every time there has to be maintenance, we go through this where we're moving off to a temporary pole, draws resources away. Probably the most important one is RF. And Mike Crosby, the RF engineer, a little later is happy to talk to you about the RF reasons as to why we need to come off the tank. And happy to go into that later if you'd like. That all has to do with question number 1 by Labella. 2 is related to that. He wanted to know if anybody ever responded to us from the Water Authority's agent whom you deal with to rent Water Authority land or tanks or what have you. And we were a little shocked. There was also a financial reason. I wanted in the record, and we have, as I said, structural, logistical, and RF reasons, but I wanted in the record the fact that they are tripling the rent. I mean, it's way beyond fair market value. And a public utility does not have to bear unreasonable costs. It's under state and federal regulatory law. And the reason for that is, of course, it gets passed on to the consumer to some degree. And so that's another reason. And I think part of it was just a statement. That letter was a statement back to them. There are properties where we're trying to go on Water Authority land, off the water tanks. And so we just want to make a point that if they want us on their land, they need to become reasonable with the financial and other terms, but not really so much for this application. There was items 1 and 2 from Labella. Number 3, photo simulations. They said, are there any extra? So, I don't know if get on again like the county had raised. Number 4, they recite some aesthetic sections from the code that really talk about landscaping, and we leave that to planning boards. If a planning board wants us any kind of reasonable landscaping, we'll put it in, happy to do it. But we don't typically, we don't typically suggest much because different towns, do different things. But if the board wanted would typically see would be pines surrounding the fence. At least from the road views. And it would shield the fence and the equipment shelter from the bottom. Obviously can't shield the whole monopole. But we leave that to a condition of planning boards if they'd like us to do that. The 5th out of the 8th comment had to do with lights. They want to know what lights were there. There is a maintenance light. So if a maintenance person goes at night or they turn on the light, it's on a timer. 60 minutes, they have to keep setting it, so when they're done, they leave, it turns off. So there are no lights there in terms of maintenance lights that continue beyond the visit by the maintenance person. We are waiting back from FAA. Typically, anything under 200 feet does not need to be lit, but we still haven't gotten our FAA back. I don't know if it's pandemic, I don't know what's going on, and the water tank is not lit, so it's probably unlikely, but we just don't have that yet. So we would, of course, provide that when we finally get that from FAA. They are running pretty far behind. The 6th is, you probably can't see it on that, the existing equipment building that Verizon has on Mi'kmaq property is partly on Mi'kmaq property, partly on this landlord's property, and there's a bump out of the fence. That equipment shelter will go away, and that fence will be straightened now, so that bump will go away. That was the question they're asking. So it will now be squared off to track, the fence will now track the actual Mi'kmaq parcel. So it'll be realigned to the property. Number 7, the Labella pointed out that the code requires an 8-foot fence. Our standard is a 6-foot chain link with 1 foot of barbed wire. That's what we typically propose, that's what we do. Board wants 8 feet, we'll do 8 feet. They want 8 feet with a foot of barbed wire, that's fine. They want 7 feet with 1 foot of barbed wire, that's fine. They want 8 feet, just chain link fence, that's fine. So just tell us if there's any deviation from what we proposed, but we're happy to do whatever is reasonably requested by the planning board. The 8th comment that they made, which doesn't really require a response, but they noted that even though we're unlisted, we filed a long form EAF. We don't have to do that. You can get away with a short form if it's unlisted. But we, just as a matter of course, do full EAFs for all our projects. And I know that's probably overkill, but that's what's standard for us. So those were the comments from the county. Those were the comments from Labella. I don't know. I don't want to spend more time than the board, take up more of your time than you want on any one topic if it's just not of interest to you. But why don't I turn over to the board and ask you, do you have any questions, either about what Labella or the county has raised or anything in the application, anything we can respond to?
So my question to you is, we're not ready tonight to make any decisions, is that right?
Theoretically, you are procedurally in a position to do that because county has done its review, and this was noticed for a public hearing, correct?
I couldn't hear you.
This was noticed for a public hearing? Yeah. So you are procedurally in a position to do it, but if there's something that you need and we have to come back, then we'll do that. There's a shot clock requirement, but you're well within the shot clock requirement. That's a federal deadline, but you're well within that. It's 150 days from date of application for a new tower, so you've got plenty of time. I love Victor. I'm happy to come back as many times as you want, but I don't want to waste your time either. So, but you are in a position procedurally to make a decision tonight.
So this balloon test, that tells us the height of the tower?
Yeah, the balloon would be at the height of the tower, and then you should see they use that balloon to then put in the photo simulation.
I see 2 balloons.
Sometimes they'll do 2 balloons because of wind. So that gets them a more accurate reading.
Wait. If you're gonna, wait. If you're going to make a comment, you have to come to the podium. I apologize.
Yeah.
All of the views do seem to be from the south. Did you consider taking any photographs of balloons from the village itself?
We typically, as you see it in exhibit, and by the way, that spotter balloon, they can be done, sometimes the wind will blow, so they'll have one, and then another one comes up. There's also a spotter balloon, so they can see it more easily, and that will get them, because sometimes you get to a view, you can't see it at all. So the spotter balloon will tell you you're looking in the right direction, and it's another X number of feet below. But you'll see it's the lower balloon that is the height that they're doing the propagations to. If you look at the first page of Exhibit N, which is the view shed map, and that would show where theoretically, without obstructions, trees, so forth in the way, where theoretically the view shed would be. So I think the village, if I've got it right, is so far outside of that that it just wouldn't make sense to do it from there. You're not going to see it from the village.
About the people across the road.
And you can see where they went 3 across the road, 1 basically right in front of it, and then 1 to the north, 1 to the south. Then they went around to the next road to the south, because that's as close as you could be from the public. And then they went around to the east to the next road. Basically, just kind of went around the compass there to get the closest sites where you could see, the closest locations where you could see it. The village wouldn't even be close to this.
Are going to be any guy wires holding this thing up?
No, Monopole does not have any guy wires.
Okay.
I know, Ernie, just looking at Google Earth and driving around in Google Earth, you can't see a thing up there. It's hidden by trees and everything else. I mean, it's pretty well shielded, except if you're nearby. And
You'll see it across the street.
you will, of course you will.
I live right across the street.
Okay, Kim, sorry.
Straight across.
Just-
Behind it.
Mhm.
For what it's worth, you guys have always put together a great, complete application on your projects, and when they come here, there's a lot of information, and it's really informative. And I think you did reference this graphic, right? That includes the view shed analysis, and that really does kind of articulate and specify the potential locations from where the pole could be viewed. And for example, it doesn't look like Ganondigan falls in there within that view shed, nor any place in the village of Victor. At least from what I'm seeing here on the Costitch view shed map. So that seems,
Yeah, both those locations are pretty far outside this.
yeah.
I'd ask, can you see the tank from the village?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I never looked.
You mentioned that T-Mobile may come off or elect to come off the water tower and go onto your monopole.
Yes. I believe they submitted a letter to the town. I might be mistaken, but that was my understanding, that they were submitting a letter separately. No?
I haven't received it yet.
Okay.
So my question is then, how much more gear does that mean is going to be on the pole, and it will be at the top of the pole, or will it be?
They would be just below, and if you take a look at any of the photo simulations in Exhibit N, and you can see what our typical antenna array looks like on the top, there would be another antenna array. I don't know exactly what antennas they would use, but you could, it would be likely similar to what we've got.
And anybody else in particular would want to co-locate, or just the two of you at this point?
Just the two of us at this point.
Because the visual impact then increases kind of
Sure,
exponentially.
sure. But the plus side of that is that if there was a third carrier that came along, and I know that there is, but if a third carrier came along, it's better that they co-locate than put up another tower. But that would be up to the board, and they'd have to come back to you, and you'd have to make the decision. But we make it available, because most boards, towns want us to make it available, so they have the flexibility to do that, should they like to do so. And so we make all of our facilities available to other co-locators who obtain zoning approvals from the local municipality.
Well, Joe, one of the drawings, CA 500, shows the monopole in elevation, and they have their Verizon equipment at the top. Two other locations noted or shown on this drawing that they provided. So,
They're all built to accommodate structurally 3 carriers.
okay, that was my next question, is if that's what your plan is, then.
The
that's-
standard array, yeah. We don't have a plan for a third,
Right,
but it's there if the town wants it.
yeah, well, it's prudent to design.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a sense of what the extra equipment is going to look
Yeah.
like visually.
Just take that one and triple it, and that's about it.
There's already one pole next to the tower.
Yeah, that one's coming down, the short one's coming down. That's temporary because Mi'kmaq said we needed to get off there so they could do maintenance. It's not adequate, it was doing something to plug some of the coverage problems, that's why we're scrambling to get this one back up as soon as we can.
Anybody from the public wish to ask a question, make comment?
And I'm sorry, the last thing is, did you need to hear anything from any of the other folks? If you do have questions you want to hear from the other folks, just let me know, either RF questions or site acquisition
folks.
questions.
They have a couple of engineers there.
Well, I don't know, it's your presentation, so if you want to have them come up and speak, have them do it.
I'm
It
just gonna-
sounds like an invitation to
Yeah.
me.
This is Mike Crosby, he's the RF engineer, and he's responsible for making sure that this is a site that adequately covers the cell. So I guess mostly in response to LaBella's question, why do you need this if you used to be on the tank? Let me just have Mike put a little bit into the record on that.
Again, Mike Crosby, Verizon Wireless, RF engineer, radio frequency engineer. I think, just to start off, I think it's important to note that this is, the site that we're referring to, Victor South, is a legacy site in Verizon's network. So this is something that's been on the air for decades. So it's not like we have a coverage gap where there's nothing there right now. We have a deficiency that's there right now because we've relocated to that temporary pole that you had mentioned you could see in the picture. That pole is substantially lower than the antenna center line that we had previously on the water tank. The water tank itself is, this dates back a long time. So this is the network for actually most of the wireless carriers, if not all. Verizon is certainly in this group. Verizon's network has changed dramatically over the last 20-plus years. If you remember, we used to have car phones. They were 3-watt mobiles. We had the old brick phones. You're going back quite a long ways to when this site, is a legacy from. So throughout the years, everything's improved, new and improved, right? So the phones are smaller, lower power. The amount of frequency and bandwidth has increased over time. But the overall power continues to decrease. And so in order for this cell to continue to maintain the service that we've been able to enjoy throughout this portion of the town of Victor, it's important for us to be able to fix 2 issues. Actually, there's more than 2, there's really 3. One, the first issue really is the tank itself. It's a purpose-built structure. It's built for holding water. It's not built for wireless antennas and co-location. These structures have never been great for wireless use, but we've made use of them because they're typically located in preferable locations, usually on high ground elevation, and we combine those utilities, those public services, public utilities into one location. But as Bob mentioned earlier, the old whip antennas that we used to put up on the tops of these tanks, and when there was only 1 or 2 carriers that would utilize them, now it's changed. Now you have 2, 3 carriers that are located on a lot of these water tanks. And as time goes on, the water tank owners come back and they say, we need to do service on the tank. You have to take all of your equipment down. Well, we're trying to run a public utility that requires our service to stay on the air all the time, 24/7, 365. And that's a substantial impact to the ability for us to provide adequate and reliable service. So right now where we're at is we are not on the tank. We're actually relocated to a temporary, I believe it's a wooden utility type pole. So the service is still on the air, but it's compromised compared to what that legacy service has been. And to add to that, we already have existing overloaded conditions, which is shown in the RF justification document. We've provided documentation that shows how not only do we have coverage inadequacies, coverage gaps, but we also have capacity gaps, meaning the system is currently overloaded. The ability to relocate our antennas onto this permanent, purpose-built telecommunications utility pole is going to allow us to be able to restore that service and improve on the gaps and capacity issues that are documented in the RF justification. So hopefully that just sort of draws a little bit of a history into where we are today and the importance of being able to have this structure that's properly situated, properly designed, that allows us to provide the service that the town of Victor deserves and needs, and is shown and warranted based on the traffic that's in use in the area in a way that is not subject to interference not only from the other wireless carriers because of how they are situated on the tank, but also the tank structure itself, which is really not a proper structure because of all the massive amounts of steel. And that's part of the reason why the antennas have to be above the top of the tank, so the tank itself doesn't cause reflections and shadowing, what we call PIM, which is passive intermodulation. These large steel structures can actually create additional frequencies that cause interference back into the sensitive receive system that we have. So,
are there alternate technologies? And the reason I ask is a year or so ago, there was a capacity issue around the Victor School District, and we approved a telephone pole mounted facility over on High Street. And I know from a previous life that, for instance, in Binghamton, when they were expanding or proposing 5G, they did a lot of pole-mounted gear as well. So are there alternate technologies to the monopole that you're proposing?
There really isn't for this application, and the reason why is because what you're characterizing is there's a variety of different tools that we have in the toolbox today. So there's all different size and scales of cell sites. In this case, this site is part of what we call the anchor network. The anchor network has to exist and it has to work properly before you can infill it with some of these smaller sites. So what we're working on is that anchor. As time goes on, and if it's necessary to do so, we would be able to add additional sites that you're in some form or another of what you're talking about down the road. But this is part of the anchor. So without the anchor, that we can't get this, putting the cart before the horse. Welcome.
One more. I noticed that there's a fence as well. And again, in a previous life, I've had to deal with fence line radiation issues Is the tower high enough or the signal not strong enough that we've got radiation issues for people on the ground?
So you're talking about a re-radiation or re-rad of a frequency because of a steel structure causing intermodulation. So the antennas will be well above, that level. What you're talking about, I've seen myself on some rooftop type installations where there's, and that's actually part of the reason why I was referring to the water tank as a potential source for interference. So hopefully that draws some correlation there. So what our plan is, if this is implemented as designed, there will not be any of those types of issues, both with the water tank and the fence.
Thank you.
Welcome.
What color is the monopole?
That's a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but, typically there's galvanized steel gray, which we find throughout upstate New York, blends nicely with the sky most of the year. But
yeah, they're galvanized gray. And for that reason, we did studies 30 years ago trying to find the best, and that's what they came up with, is that gray was what matches here the best, and is best against the sky. Now, a town nearby that I won't name, but it starts with P and ends with Itzford, they actually had told us they wanted it painted blue, and they wanted us to paint white clouds on it. He said, we don't think you want that. We'll do it, but we don't think you want it. Well, they were insistent. This is probably 25 years ago. It was just south of the Thruway. And I don't know if anybody remembers seeing it. It was hideous. The blue stuck out like a sore thumb, and the white clouds just looked like peeling paint. And after about a year, they asked us if we would replace it with galvanized.
Well, I do remember that horrible tree-looking thing that they had.
Not ours. Not Verizon's, but yes, I know which one you're talking about, and that got fixed, and they came back. It's much better now. I think it was AT&T's, but they went back and they did fix that. Verizon does have one of the first tree towers in Pittsford, and it looks a lot nicer. But you have to be real careful with trees too. You want other trees around them. Otherwise, they can look like inverted toilet brushes. I mean, you've got to have in the right application, it's a nice stealth solution, but it's got to be the right one. Some people say we really want a tree, and then they get up, they say it's horrible because there's anything you can do. And say, yeah, we could put up a monopole. So that's for most instances, monopoles are really the best application. Did you mention
No,
RF?
I'm all set. I just
okay.
wanted to make sure if there was any other questions.
All right.
Anything else, Mr. Crosby?
I just had a question on possible landscaping. You had said something about landscaping, and I didn't
Yeah.
quite catch everything that you might be recommending or offering.
Sure. Sometimes they're in the woods, and we've actually had times say, well, why don't you put up landscaping? We can't see the landscaping because it's behind trees. Now, here it is out in the field, so it makes some sense, even though it's pretty far removed. And what we would kind of standard is, you can see there's a fence around the compound, and at least the ones that face roads and even all the way around, but we put 6 foot, 5 or 6 foot trees, evergreen trees, and we just stagger them around. And it takes a few years to grow and fill in, but then it hides the whole base, it hides the fence below, it hides any equipment cabinet or shelters below. So that's a fairly standard landscaping application. If the board wants it, we have no objection to
That sounds
adding
good.
it.
Is that in your plans that you?
No. Oftentimes, boards will just add it as a condition, and we can submit it to the town engineer as a condition. If you say, we'd like to see a landscaping plan with, evergreen screening, is usually what they say, and subject to approval by the town engineer. And that usually is good enough, and we work it out with them.
I don't think we can landscape the monopole, but I think we can landscape some other things.
No, we'd have the thing that looked like the tree in Pittsford. Okay, anybody else?
I didn't see a generator there, but I understand you're using batteries now. Is that true?
What are we doing here?
For power backup? You were on a small stand with some other equipment. Normally, the older projects anyway have backup generators in case they lose power, so just curious how that
Kathy
works.
Pomponio, I'm the project manager. I'm going to go back and take a look at the generator issue. Again, this is a legacy network, and there probably should be a generator there. So I'm going to go back and check with the Costitch on that.
Will that take up any more space than the footprint that you're showing now? Because
It would be
bit.
within the compound.
But within our,
Fenced in
well
compound.
within our area.
Okay, because it looks like you've got 2 other pads for potential future users for equipment, and I don't know where you can put a generator within that, if you have two other users, so.
Yeah, we'll make it work. We'll make it work. I'm going to take it back. Colin, we'll take it back to Costage.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
If you were to do any landscaping around the perimeter, would that impede any, or invade into any of the agricultural land? Would that take up any of the agricultural real estate at all? Or is that
We're
in the lease
in
area?
we're in a field, we've leased this area, so it's coming out of agriculture, but we're not talking about much. We're talking about, a very small space around.
And that's
around the
an
fence.
area that you would be leasing, so even the landscaping that was proposed, you'd be leasing that area
You
as
have to
well?
clear that with the landlord. Do we have any lease area outside the fence, Colin, or would we have to go back to the landlord and secure that? We would work that out with the landlord, though. It would be outside the leased area? Oh, we have leased area outside the fence, so we should have sufficient area, and we can show that
Okay.
on a subsequent landscape plan.
Is that the Bell Atlantic Mobile Systems lease area?
Yes, that would be.
100 by 100, it looks like here, so you're well outside of your fence line from what I'm seeing on this drawing. EA 110.
Oh, yeah, we got a lot of space outside the fenced compound. Yeah, so there should be adequate space there.
Here,
I think CA 100 shows it better. I think it's a better view of that. You can see where the fence is and how much is actually a significant amount of land outside the fenced area.
your generators, are they well mufflered, I guess, or enclosed in any way to dampen the noise to the neighbors if they happen to fire up?
Well, again, first of all, they only operate, other than a test,
Right.
they only operate in the event there's a failure,
Mhm.
and in which case, it's important to have a generator to get service.
Right.
So
And
not
it's-
like they're operating all the time. But
It's important to note that we have a generator at the existing location.
Yeah.
So it's already there. So I think it's just an error that it wasn't included in the site plan. So we're going to go back to Costage and have them take a look at that.
I was just looking at your cabinet, and it shows a Verizon wireless battery cabinet, so I'm assuming that would have been a backup in lieu of a generator, but what sounds like you're saying is you've got the generator anyway.
They're already,
Yeah.
it's not shown, but it's definitely there.
I'm sorry, what was, the question was,
The question was, you're showing proposed wireless battery cabinet, which my presumption was that's your backup.
what page are you on?
501, CA 501, rear elevation. Those two cabinets there,
There we go.
and the right cabinet is shown as a wireless battery cabinet. I mean, I kind of like the fact that it's nice and quiet no matter when it fires up, but, or when it's relied on.
Just an added note, throughout the network, it's not uncommon for us to have battery backup and generator backup at the sites.
Sure.
For your short-term power issues, you go on those batteries get down to a certain level, generator kicks on, charges the batteries back up. So that's not an uncommon situation, but what you're alluding to is certainly possible too, where we have sites that are not so coverage dependent. So this is obviously a large coverage footprint, which is why it's important to have and maintain the generator we've already got on site. So we already have a generator there. I think that what we're talking about is the fact that it just needs to be shown that we're bringing that over,
Yeah,
just like the rest of the equipment. So
okay.
I think that's the challenge that we have right now.
Well, I like the idea that the battery kicks in, and if it gets low enough, then you kick the generator on, and then 99% of the time or less, who knows, that you
Yeah,
need
and-
the generator.
One of the interesting parts of the job that I have is working across New York State and northeastern Pennsylvania over the last, several decades, we'll just say that. We've seen a lot of different power outages, and I can assure you that when, there's issues, whether it be in Binghamton with flooding or, what have you, it certainly is nice to have that generator, and be on the air throughout that, natural disaster or whatever's occurring. They're usually very well looked upon in that situation, so.
But the concern, and it's a legitimate one, is this going to keep people up at night? And the point is that this is not a generator that's used except when there's an emergency, and except when, it looks like this one also has the battery backup, except when the batteries are drained. So it's going to be a pretty rare instance.
Sure.
And in that instance, things are pretty bad. So it's better to have that short-term
I'm just looking
operation.
for expectations, what we're going to see and all that kind of stuff, so that's all. Thank you.
Anything else from the public? Yes, step up.
Hi, I was here last time. I don't know if anybody had a chance to
What's your
look
name?
at the documents that I
Your
submitted.
name and address?
It's Jackie Dalton. I'm sorry.
Your address?
Oh, it's 1556 Brace Road.
Okay.
Okay.
You have to do this for the record.
Thank you. Okay. So I was here at the last meeting and I submitted like a 73-page
Where's your mask?
document. I'm sorry?
Your mask?
I'm sorry? I can't.
Your mask?
I can't wear one. I can't wear one.
Huh?
I haven't worn one since day one. I cannot wear one.
You vaccinated?
I'm sorry?
You vaccinated?
I don't give that, that's my personal information, and I don't give that out. I'm sorry. That's my medical information and HIPAA.
You know, we're under a governor's order to have everybody masked in these meetings.
It's actually, it's unconstitutional, and it's actually.
Well, we're not here to argue constitutionality. I'm just telling you what we are under. And it's an executive order that we have everybody in the room masked.
I thought I saw somewhere that Ontario County was not complying. I don't know.
I have not heard that.
Okay. Well, what do you want me to do? I cannot wear one? What do you want me to do?
You're up there now, so go ahead.
Okay. All right. So anyway, I was here last time as well, which is just about a week ago, and submitted a 73-page document. So I'm not sure if anybody had a chance to look at it. But I'm here in regards to the health aspect of the people around the area, not so much looks or noise, but the health aspect of it. So there's been a lot of studies in regards to 5G, many studies actually of the safety concerns. There are no studies anywhere saying that it is safe. So, but it's not just the human safety that's a concern, it's also for the animals. We have cattle, we have Dexters, and we're trying to do an organic, grass-fed type environment, and it's also a concern for my cattle because it does affect breeding, it affects women's reproductive organs and all of this. I did submit some studies and documents in regards to that. It's just concerning that so many people worry about, a piece of metal in the ground or noise or what something looks like and never even consider the possible side effects to the people around the area. And it's a worry, it's a concern, and we're just getting bigger and wider and longer. And with 5G, they will be having more. You had asked that intelligent question, and I think you know this or you wouldn't be asking it. There will be more, and there will have to be more, because they need many of them in order to work because of the low millimeter waves. So, but they can penetrate people's skin within 1 to 2 millimeters, and it also affects the bees. So, and I have all of these. I can give these to you so I don't take too much time, but I'll scan through some of them real quick. 180 scientists and doctors from 35 countries have signed a recommendation for 5G moratorium.
Sorry, ma'am, the question here is not really 5G. They're just going on legacy. They're replacing equipment for equipment on a tower adjacent to where they had it mounted before. And it's lower output. That's what they're saying, I assume, correct?
It's going taller, and 5G actually,
But this is not 5G. Their 5G equipment is different than what's on this tower. So we're not even discussing 5G on this application. All we're doing is taking their equipment and moving it from the tank to a tower. That's all they're doing.
They're taking it from a tank to a tower, and a very tall tower.
It's 140 feet, yep.
Yeah, yeah, so it will affect us more.
If it's lower power, I don't see how, but
Because then I'm protected and shielded more from the trees and the things that are around me. I mean, you know what, I'll say this, you should probably, before a decision gets made about something like this, and if you're not the one living by it, it would be nice if someone would, for the people around the area, maybe consider at least looking into it and studying it a little bit and trying to understand it more of what is yet to come and where they're headed with this and how it is going to affect people, and the studies that have been, like Robert F. Kennedy just got done with a lawsuit in regards to it, and he won, actually, just this past August, in regards to 5G and how it harms people. I have that document here.
We have not seen the information that you said you brought. It went to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay,
So we don't know what you're talking about.
okay.
So in any case, I guess that while informative, I don't think it's relevant to this conversation on this particular application, so I don't know how we can really take that and utilize the information for this application. So,
Okay, so health concerns are not applicable.
didn't say
for-
that, that was your words.
Well, that's kind of what you just said. It's not,
Well,
you
it's
just
what
said
I
it's
just
not
said was,
relevant?
I said what's relevant is the fact that we're just moving some equipment, we're not, and it's lower power. So to me, that's less of a health concern than what was there previously. So, and honestly, we have nothing else that tells us
It's lower power, but
Otherwise-
it's faster, and it also,
it's the
it,
same equipment. It's exactly the same system. It's Verizon LTE. If you see a little LTE on your phone, that's 4G, I believe, and maybe I'm misspeaking, but it's not 5G equipment yet. We're not even there.
yet,
Right, not, this tower won't, they can't just flip a switch and it becomes 5G. It's a whole new set of equipment elsewhere. So, and that's what he's saying, is he's filling in a regional, a legacy spot that
Uh-huh.
provides adequate coverage, whereas if you just take this tower down, then you don't have that anymore, and then you have to put other ones elsewhere in order to maintain cell service. So,
right, I mean, they would obviously be doing it for, he said, for better reception, and.
well, to
if
get
there's-
it, he's making it taller so that you can see over the tower, where the steel tower was otherwise blocking and reflecting waves and not allowing as good a communication. Now it's in clear
Yeah,
air.
right, so it's going to affect, it's going to affect more things then.
I don't see how. It's lower power, and it's still 4G, LTE equipment and frequencies. 5G is a different system, which we're not even there yet, so unless
We're
there's,
correct in our understanding that this is staying 4G
Yeah, if I could just.
for the time being, anyway. I can't tell you not to present something.
If you'd like me to respond, I actually can put some of this to bed.
Yes, why don't you do that?
To start with, the 1996 Federal Telecom Act preempted local control or regulation of cell facilities on RF output or perceived health effects. So legally, none of this is admissible, and none of it is legally able to be considered. So that makes short shrift of this. Everything here that we're talking about is at best academic and is not part of this proceeding. Having said that, I never like to leave it at that, even though it's legally preempted. I'd like to talk about the perceived health effect. This comes up, obviously, from time to time, a lot less now than it did 30 years ago. First of all, as was pointed out, we've been on the air for 20 years. This is not 5G. It's the same thing that we've been broadcasting from there for 20 years. Secondly, and this is what makes most sense to me as a layperson, what is being broadcast from cellular, whether people complain about it 30 years ago or 10 years ago or tonight, what's broadcast from there is a radio signal. That's all it is. It is a radio signal, and it's been around for a long time. It's no different than what you see for a television station or for a radio station. The only difference is it's at extremely low power, where you've got television stations and radio stations broadcasting megawatts, millions of watts, and broadcast over huge areas because it's receive only. This has to be contained within that cell. mile radius, depending on the cell. Very, very weak. If it's stronger than that, it bleeds over to the neighboring cells, you got interference. So this is no different than a radio signal, except it's extremely weak. And if somebody's legitimately concerned about this, the first thing they ought to be doing is getting the radio stations off the air and the television stations off the air. But that's all this is. This is a radio signal. It's nothing more. I have been to 2 other hearings in the last year, and I was kind of flabbergasted to hear this, but let me tell you, 2 other hearings in the last year, 2 other towns, where people got up and said they read on the internet that 5G, which is not our situation here, but that 5G caused COVID. And they were adamant about it. And they had websites where they said 5G caused COVID. And the reason was because Wuhan had rolled out some 5G at about the time that the pandemic started. And from that, there are conspiracy groups all over the place. So there's a lot of misinformation. With all respect, the information or statements made tonight are categorically untrue about health effects. These are things off the internet, conspiracy theories. If anybody wants to, we'd be happy to submit outside the record because it's not legally part of the record. Stuff from the FCC, from WHO, from credible agencies and organizations that have looked at this at length. We'd be happy to submit that if it's of interest to the board. But this is all apart from and aside from the application that's in front of the board tonight.
I actually have one from the WHO. I do have one from the WHO.
Well, we're not going to get any further into this discussion because it's not going to accomplish anything tonight. You're welcome to come to all our future meetings. If you have anything to present, make sure it's directed to the planning board, not the zoning board of appeals, because as I say, we have not seen that. So if there's nothing else, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is only half over right now. None?
We're all set. I'm sorry. Did you say you're moving on to the next item?
Yes.
So when would is there anything else, boy? I just want to close this
Well,
up.
our next meeting is January 11th, if you want to present anything before that time, so we'll see it.
Is there anything else that the board would like to hear from us so that I come prepared on January 11th? And you don't have to answer now, but obviously the town can get back to us.
My only thing is about towers, and you touched on it briefly at the beginning, was the FAA.
Oh, yes, yep.
We do not want to see lights on towers, so
No.
the height restriction would apply. I believe it's 200 feet, but I can't.
There are exceptions. There are times when you're in an approach slope. If you're near an airport, you're near an airstrip, I don't think we are. Sometimes, though, they run, you just don't know with the FAA for sure.
I mean, this is a corridor for aircraft from Rochester.
Yeah, and it might, so.
Especially for military helicopters.
Hopefully we will hear by then. Okay.
I would appreciate seeing that.
I've got 2 things for you as well. Just to follow up. So for the EAF, it looks like construction takes about 3 months. Is that about right? Yeah, okay. And then maybe between now and the next meeting, if you're able to get in touch with Costage and have them assemble a landscaping plan.
Sure.
Right, that'd be fine. And then the planning board can, weigh in on that during the next meeting. That'd be great.
Okay.
Yep.
I agree. I think you've done a good job answering all the questions I had. I appreciate the input from your engineers very much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is the Van Bortle parking lot expansion, which has been adjourned to the next meeting.
Yep.
Well, you've got to return.
She just pulled
Pushed
them
right
off.
through that one.
Scout path. I think Scott's been waiting patiently.
Well, he's not up yet.
I know, isn't he?
That's all?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's on the last page.
Strong Road subdivision is now off for this evening. Is it on for next meeting? Yes, it's on for the January 11th meeting.
As is normal, Scott gets the end of the meeting.
And we're there now.
All right, well, happy holidays, everybody. This is our first time here for final. Maybe you recall this project has been here previously as sketch about a year ago in February, and in preliminary, we finished that August 10th. So this is about the 6th time we've talked about the project. It's gone through some changes. Recall
the configuration was shifted at preliminary when we worked hard to avoid what was ultimately discovered to be an environmentally sensitive area, and one which would be betterly protected in a conservation easement than as a residential building lot. So what we have is the final configuration. I believe that we're very close to a plan here that addresses all the comments. We did get some comments today from town engineer. They seem fairly technical, but nevertheless, it looks like we still have just a little bit more to do to get this home. And if that's the case, we'll kind of just pause right here, answer any questions, and see where we go.
Let's go first. You've got the plan.
I guess I'll go first. Were there some town engineer comments that were generated that were in our packet, or were they separate?
You probably didn't get them in your packet here. I can kind of go over a few of those.
Why don't you go over those first, and then I...
Sure. So we had a total of 10 comments on the final subdivision application. Some of them are kind of carryovers from the preliminary application. So the first comment was about access management. There's really nothing further for the applicant to do. We acknowledged this during the preliminary application that he was seeking a waiver to write to section 55-6, the 440-foot driveway separation. The riverine wetland. So we talked about the wetland at the last preliminary phase, and then I believe that the town submitted the wetland delineation and the information to the Army Corps of Engineers. I don't know if there's been any response to that, and I don't know if either Kim's office or Scott have heard. Okay.
I would say here that wasn't expecting anything, Wes. Typically, we would only have some correspondence with the Corps if there was an actual delineation that we were working toward some sort of determination with.
Okay.
So in this case, I think the silence sort of speaks for itself in that the avoidance coupled with the delineation or the lack of delineated wetlands sort of speak for itself.
Yeah, okay. Not a problem there. The sanitary sewer availability, the only point we were trying to get across there was that I think the narrative and some of the submission materials indicated that you had this letter, sanitary sewer availability letter. We didn't see it. I don't know that it's actually needed for the application. It's not anything that, I would feel holds up, the process here. But I did get an email, I think you did request maybe today from
the
from
challenge there
Farmington.
was to try and get the right email. We had a previous director, and the emails weren't going through. But
Okay.
I expect we'll get it, and it's really a letter that is critical to the health department realty subdivision more than what we're doing here. We've been receiving comments from Farmington Sewer, and those comments have been addressed in the plan. So I can't imagine that they would be surprised that this project is at its stage now.
Okay. With regard to the horizontal directional drilling of sanitary laterals, we mentioned that the engineering report indicated that the sanitary laterals would be installed via HDD technologies in order to avoid open cutting of Aldridge Road. And installation of gravity sewer is not a typical application for HDD in the town and may be subject to additional requirements. At a minimum, the lateral will need to be lamped to ensure continuous slope under the road prior to backfilling the connections on both sides of the street. And as first requested in our June 21st letter, we were looking for the design professional to add the locations of the drill setup and drill pits, the plans, as well as demonstrate disturbance, including erosion and sediment control measures. So it sounds like maybe that can be something that could be addressed on the plan set.
It definitely can. I just kind of would remind the technique that we're using here is directional drilling. So on one end of the drill, it's actually at surface. There's no excavation required. The drill extends its drill deep to grade, and then it daylights only in one excavated hole on the sewer side of the event here. And at that location, based on depth, we will need some trench protection. It's fairly deep, so we're talking about a disturbance in the range of 6 by 10, and it would be excavated, connected, and restored in the same day. So the erosion control that we'd be proposing here would be probably just a surface restoration, stabilization.
Okay. The sanitary lateral slopes, there seemed to be just an inconsistency. There was one note that mentioned 1% versus 2% on another note.
Yes.
I think Farmington was requesting 2%. Is that possible?
Yes, and that's what we've detailed on our profile is 2%. So we've proof of concept there that we've got the sufficient grades and elevations to do a 2% drill.
Okay.
And I didn't read the information into the record before we started on this one, so I should do it now. This is Scout Path, Aldridge Road, tax map 16.00-1-2.120, zoned residential 2. It's 09 FS 2021, tax map. I just did that one. Owner is DeHolliday Design Incorporated. Applicant is requesting approval to subdivide the 8.84 acre parcel into 5 building lots ranging in size from .813 acres to 5.09 acres. The home locations will be accessed via 2 shared common driveways. This is the final step for this major subdivision. Preliminary was approved August 10, 2021. Sorry, Wes, go ahead.
Oh, that's fine. The next comment, number 6, was about proposed conditions in the stormwater pond. We just want to be sure that you're able to get your one foot of freeboard.
No difficulty there. Yeah, that's not a problem.
Yeah, all right, that's good, that's good. Just a minor comment on the notice of intent. Lot 2 grading, there seems to be some contours that are kind of pointing towards one of the homes, and we were wondering, can that be resolved? Can there be some alternative design done there to avoid surface water being directed at the house?
Yeah, there certainly is. It's a shallow swale. It is shown on the plan with a high point sort of at the back corner, but a 6 to 8 inch deep swale here, which is tough to show with 1 foot contours, but it will wrap at the bottom bank and intercept the water, and that's what you see at 1 foot intervals is the full extension of that swale to bring any water that's coming from the driveway in the upland area around the house.
Okay.
And the other thing here is, we've kind of shown a concept of where the house would go. It isn't the final architecture, right? So there'll be some subtle changes, particularly affecting grading as folks might want egress windows or things like that. So at the time that we come in for a site plan, we'll have something that's really dialed in, and the grading would, if there was an issue, we would, be taking care of it at that time as well. But what we've shown is kind of the general concept to be refined at the site plan.
All right. And then probably the last comment worth mentioning would be the common driveway detail. And would you have a problem with my suggestion about requiring paving once two homes are constructed versus greater than 2?
I had to read the comment twice, but yeah. So our detail is not consistent with the town's detail there, and we'll pave it after the second house as you've revised.
Okay. And that's the extent of Obella's comments at this time.
I had a couple of comments too.
Go ahead.
Scott, on your sheet 1, is this to be the plat map sheet? Is this what you're going to file at the county?
Mike Green will maybe have a few additional edits, but yeah, that is our intended plat, yes.
Yeah, if so, I guess normally we would see like the meets and bounds of the easements and that sort of thing on here. Is that to come in some future edition?
We've typically provided those in Schedule A's, and the town attorney has actually...
So they don't show them in the printed form on the drawing?
We usually have them as part of the file easement. They're shown on the subdivision map.
previous projects, Scott, you've had a separate plat sheet kind of created, either concurrently or after the planning board is satisfied with these drawings. And I think they do have the easements on them, because I do recall reviewing them and making comments and getting those revised, those easements.
Yeah.
I've always understood that meets and bounds were required. That's why I was asking the question. I had a question on the driveways. Are the driveways all to be 12 foot? You've got a common driveway detail that shows like perhaps 20. I'm just wondering, what is the driveway width?
I'd have to refer to the details, Scott. The width matches what's shown in the design criteria. We've labeled it in a couple spots, too.
Well, for example, on your sheet 3, you indicate a 12-foot wide common driveway. But is 12 foot the correct width for a common driveway? I think it's greater than that according to your detail. I think your detail shows a 16-foot width with 2-foot shoulders, so 20 foot. So I guess I'm wondering which is correct.
We're proposing a 16-foot common driveway with shoulders, so 12-foot asphalt and 2-foot shoulders on the other side.
Well, how does that agree with a 12-foot common driveway then? Does it get larger or something, or?
No, I'm referring only to what's labeled here, Scott. I think if there's an inconsistency in the detail.
I guess I would just ask you to check sheet 3.
Yeah.
Where you've got it labeled 12-foot common driveway. That kind of jumped out at me. And I guess for this one, are you looking for a waiver then for the driveway access as we've done before?
The width, I'm sorry, the spacing?
Spacing between driveways?
Yeah, that's been part of our conditional approval resolution in the past. Ages, yes.
I guess there was just one other thing I was looking at. I was looking at your driveway slope, and I see your driveway profile goes up to station 4+00, but the road, or the common drive, I believe, goes up to 8+00 and then some. So I wasn't able to check on the profile, the road grade that you're proposing.
Yeah, to verify the road grades there, we added it actually in plan view. There is a note on the grading that shows the proposed grade in that section. There wasn't a lot of additional technical information to convey, Scott, in the extending the profile, so we felt that that note on plan view was beneficial.
That's all I have.
Are you guys done? Oh, okay. I was just asking Wes about the driveway question.
The intent there is to match the details, so if we're inconsistent, we will make that right.
Yeah, I mean, I see a pullover partway up the driveway. And it says 12-foot common driveway right at Aldrich. And then I think what you just said earlier was you have 12-foot pavement and 2 feet of unpaved material on either side?
Shoulders, right.
That would be 16 feet, but it's not 16 feet paved, it's only 12 feet paved. Why wouldn't you just have 16 feet paved so you can actually pass cars? Isn't that the town standard, is having paved as a driveway section?
I want to just be real careful here. I don't want to deviate from the design criteria. What I'm stipulating to is if there's an inconsistency here, we'll dial it in to match the detail. If it's 16 paved, we'll do 16 paved.
All right, I'm sure Wes will update us on what he reviews from these two. But that's all I had, was also the driveway.
Yeah, I apologize. It's kind of late, and I turned the plans in a bit ago, and I'm a little foggy on the detail there.
Yes.
So I'm just looking at the town's design and construction standards here, and for the typical section of a common driveway, you've got, looks like 16 feet of pavement, and then 2 feet of, I don't know if it specifies here.
20-foot wide foundation course.
Right.
But that looks like it's paved 20 feet. By 2 minutes Street.
Okay.
Yeah, so take a look at the detail, Scott, when you get an opportunity, because
Those
it
are-
shows, technically, it shows 20 feet of road section, 2 feet of bituminous pavement shoulders. And I don't know whether that's a different type of construction than the 16 feet of actual paved driveway. So, looks the same, honestly.
Does our detail show a 16-foot width with 2-foot shoulders on either side? This would be on sheet 4.
Yes, it does.
Right, that's what we intend to do. So I see a labeling problem on the utility plan. That would be 16 feet paved and 2-foot shoulders for a total width of 20 feet. That's also consistent with what we've been talking to the fire folks with, so we'll get that straightened around
Okay.
quickly. I don't think it affects any of the plan drawing lines. It's a annotation problem.
Yeah, it may affect your contours, but take a look at the driveway contours. when you
I
get-
believe we're drawn here at the detail,
Okay.
but the labeling is wrong.
It's sort of in the background, the 2 lines you're showing for the driveway, so.
Yeah.
Okay. All I got, Ernie.
Okay, anything else? Well, the public hearing is long closed, and this was on for final. We do have a proposed resolution here. May have to be some additions as we go along.
California. Number 6, you got to cross that.
Correct.
Something getting removed. There you go. Okay, board, looking at your proposed resolution, in the findings of fact, numbers 5 and 6 are off, so you can cross them off. Anything else? Nothing? Nothing? Want a couple of minutes to look it over before I read it?
Oh, thank you.
5 and 6 are off.
No, so we'll have to. I think that can be.
Ernie West is going to have a number 7 for you under, met prior to chairman's signature, and then we'll talk about the driveway widths, just clarifying that.
Can't hear you.
Wes is going to add number 7 to the first set of conditions,
Mm-hmm.
discussing the driveway width question, that it'll be resolved, that it's probably being constructed per town code, probably.
What language do you want?
Sorry?
What language does he want? Is he doing it now?
I'm just, Wes is writing something out. You can ask him to say it if you want, when we get to that point.
Right.
That work for you?
Well, I don't usually read the findings of fact, but
We're just
No, it's not finding,
not.
it's the
starting
conditions.
the common driveway width.
Well, it's right here.
Sorry, my mask is
and the conditions.
making it hard to hear me.
Redundant, I would say.
You know,
Right. That's redundant, it's already spelled out in 6, right? It's got to meet design.
Those are conditions.
wanted a 7 added. Somebody wanted a 7 added.
Yeah, but isn't it redundant?
I don't know.
Well, this one talks about conditions in number 6, and number 7 is an actual detail that should be meeting the design standards.
Calls for 16 feet with 2 feet on each side, and if he meets the construction standards, we don't need it spelled out, do we?
Well, the
Approval.
number 6 addresses the standard approval conditions in the DNC standards. And this will help us to identify and hone in on the driveway specifically, so we don't forget about it. So I think it's a good idea to include.
It's to refresh our memories when we need them refreshed.
It's to help Wes when he reviews the plan.
Often.
What's that?
Mm-hmm.
We're good.
That's it.
Oh, that's it.
You didn't throw it away yet.
No, I don't have, no, it's not there. You wanted to add a number 7.
Wes has it, when you want
Oh,
him to read it.
you want to
can
read it? Okay. You read that when we get to it. Okay, everybody all set?
Mm-hmm.
All right, the resolution for Scout Path, final subdivision, Aldridge Road, day's date 12/14/21, application number 09FS 2021. Whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and there are listed in this draft resolution 18 of them, but 2 have been stricken, so there are only 16 altogether. Conditions that must be met prior to the chairman signing the preliminary subdivision plan. 1, that no final signatures will be given on the plans until all legal and engineering fees have been paid as per fee reimbursement local law adopted November 25, 1996. 2, that the comments in a letter dated December 14, 2021 from Lobella Associates be addressed. 3, that comments from the town's code enforcement officer dated December 7, 2021 be addressed. 4, that comments from the town's stormwater program manager dated November 22, 2021 be addressed. That comments from the town of Farmington Water and Sewer dated November 30, 2021 be addressed. 6, that Section 4, standard approval conditions for all subdivisions, major and minor, of the design and constructions be met. And 7,
Yeah. Number 7, that the driveway widths be coordinated and resolved to adhere to the town's design and construction standard detail RS 11.
okay. Conditions that are ongoing standard conditions that must be adhered to. 1, that the major subdivision comply with Town of Victor Design and Construction Standard Land Development, including Section 4. 2, 2-year maintenance bonds shall be provided by the developer to the town for all improvements to be offered to the town for dedication. Maintenance bonds shall be written by a surety licensed to do business in New York State, and they shall be in the amount of 10% of the final construction cost, as determined by the engineer for the town. 3, that approved subdivision maps, including conservation easements, lot consolidations, and lot line adjustments, shall be submitted in digital format, AutoCAD 2002 or latest version, effective January 1, 2004, per Town Board Resolution Number 193 of June 23, 2003. 4, that should any underground water conditions be encountered during construction, the developer is to address the encroachment and impact to the underground stream to the satisfaction of the town engineer. 5, that all conservation easement markers be shown on final subdivision plans. 6, that a pre-construction meeting shall be held prior to the start of construction. And be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. Hey, do you have a motion on this?
So moved.
Who's that? Joe Lindbeck moves. Scott seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye. Okay,
Thanks very much. Have a happy holiday.
good too. Anything else before the board that we should take care of before we entertain a motion to adjourn? Then let's have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
So,
I'll second it.
Scott seconds it. All in favor?
Aye. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Everybody's, yes, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and all that stuff.